Hey there, welcome to the SilverFox Sonya podcast show. How's everyone doing out there? So, these past few weeks I've gone to the store and run into some of you all, and you've made comments about the podcast, waiting for the next episode. As well, I've spoken to many of you all on the phone, and you've asked, what's up with the podcast? Where you at? So, there was a delay due to COVID-19. There was something I was trying to do. But who knows how long we're going to be going through this. So I'm just going ahead and getting started with this. So in our last conversation, we had talked about, the relationship that's on the rise, black women, white men. And my friend asked, why don't I just start with dating shenanigans? And then I had two other acquaintances that asked me, how'd you get here to dating shenanigans? Why don't you talk about that and go into dating shenanigans? So I have decided to go into the history of how I got to dating shenanigans. And this is episode 1 of HerStory. HerStory, I guess you could say. HerStory, HerStory, which is her story. So, y'all, it started back in 89 or 90. And the name of this episode is Momentary Marriage. Yes, momentary marriage. Meaning it was just for a moment. So I had a classmate that referred me to a hair salon, and I started going to this hair salon, and at that time she didn't tell me that the hair salon was a hair salon and a barbershop. So in going to this hair salon, I liked the hairstylist, and I continued to go to her for a while. There was this barber that worked in the hair salon, and whenever I was there, he was always cutting up, telling jokes or whatnot. He was really a funny, cool kind of guy. So he and I would talk whenever I'd go. And when I'd go, about the third or fourth time, he kept winking at me. I'm sitting under the dryer. Everywhere I move, I look up. He looking at me, staring at me, and winking at me. So about on my third or fourth visit, I think it was, he had asked for my telephone number. We exchanged telephone numbers. And about a month into us talking on the phone or whatnot, I guess he had decided to share with his mother that he had met this young lady and he really liked her. And I think at that time his mom said she had noticed a change in him. So he tells his mom what my name is and gives her my last name. And when he gave my last name, she was like, whoa, what's that last name? How'd she spell it? And she had told him that she believed she knew somebody by the name of Pinckney. And he happened to call me because he didn't know how to spell my last name. And I told her how I spelled my last name. And she's like, I went to Wheatley with somebody by the last name of Pinckney. And I was like, okay, my parents went to Wheatley, and both of his parents went to Wheatley as well. So she asked who my parents were, and I gave her my dad's name, which was Isaac Pinckney at the time, and then I gave her my mom's maiden name and everything of what she went by then. And she's like, oh my gosh, I definitely know Isaac. We played in the band together. So then I get up and I go ask my dad if he knows this particular person. And he's like, yeah. So he goes and pulls out his yearbook and everything, and he talks about they were in band together, she played this. I think he even broke it down to whatever number chair or whatever they were. He said some other stuff. I don't recall. It's been too long. But so we just kind of hit it off, and we continued to talk on the phone. And during the process of us talking, I come to find out that his father was a prominent pastor here in Houston area. And my dad had mentioned that to me too. He's like, I think his dad is a pastor. And so, I was just like, ooh, yeah, I got a church boy. He definitely was no church boy. He was what we call, roughneck. And, good girls like the bad boys. So, we dated for a while. And on Sundays, we had decided, okay, some Sundays I'll go to church with you, and then he'd go to church with me. So we'd switch back and forth. Some Sundays he'd go to church with me. The next Sunday I go to church with him. So this went on for a couple of months or whatever, and then it got to the point where his mom was always like, she'd enjoy us going to church with her. And she would thank me and, give me props for being able to get her son to go to church because they couldn't get him to go to church. And she had seen such a change in him, and she was really ecstatic that he was turning his life around. So after about, I guess maybe a month and a half or 2 months of us dating, my sister wanted to meet him. I always talked about him. So we decided to go over to her house one evening. And y'all, I had actually forgot about this, but my sister reminded me of this. And she said, girl, I was so excited for y'all to come over and for me to meet him. And the doorbell rings, and she said she get up. She's like, woo. She go to the door. She opens the door. She looks at me, at him, and slams the door. I'm like, what's she slamming the door for? He cracking up laughing. And I'm like, ringing the doorbell, open the door. And me not knowing what's going on the other side of the door, she later tells me that, her husband at the time, her only husband she's ever had, he's like, you're not going to open the door for your sister and let her in? She like, I ain't letting her in. And I'm definitely not letting him in. So he comes and opens the door for us, I believe, and lets us in, and we talk. And immediately, y'all, my sister did not like him. So, I had a couple of other friends. I had a cousin. Me and my cousin, either she was at my house every other weekend or I was at her house every weekend. We switched back and forth from her house to my house. So she got to the point she didn't like him because he said some stuff to her that she didn't like. And then my little adopted sister from church, who's at that time maybe 5 years younger than me, she was like, I like him. He's cool. He's funny. He's fun to hang out with. But I just don't think he gonna treat you right. I'm like, really? You don't think so? She said, I don't know. So as time went on, I didn't always get my hair done every week. And he wanted me to get my hair done every week. But financially, I couldn't afford to get my hair done every week. I was recently out of college working retail management. And he decided, I guess, talk to his mom, because his mom was a hairstylist as well. Talk to his mom so she could do my hair. So I stopped going to the hairstylist I was going to and started going to his mom. And she did my hair every week. I tried to pay her something. She would never let me pay her anything. So I don't know if he was paying her to do my hair. Never talked about it. I really wasn't concerned, I guess, at that time. So in the meantime, I didn't realize until, I looked back later after the relationship that he really wanted me to move from that salon to his mom's salon because there was stuff going on at their salon that I probably would have picked up on had I stayed at that salon getting my hair done. So as he and I are dating, we spend, family holidays together, or he'd come to family functions. He didn't have too many family functions on his side of the family that I recall going to. And it could be because his dad was a pastor, and on Sundays they all went out to eat together. So that was like their family time together. But I remember, I think it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. I don't remember which holiday it was that he came to spend with my family. And we were in the kitchen at my grandmother's house on my dad's side of the family. And my aunt from New Orleans is in the kitchen with us, and we fixing our plates. And he said something or did something. I don't know what he said, but my aunt just turned around and looked at him. She looked him up and down and said, "Where you come from?" And then she looked at me like, girl, no. So he laughed that off too. And so we just proceed to eat and enjoy the rest of the day or whatever. And then I guess it was our second Christmas together. On Christmas Eve, our family always we would get together at midnight and open our gifts on Christmas Eve. Have dinner, whatever, prior to midnight and play a few games or whatever, sit and talk, laugh. And the gifts he had for me, he sent them to my parents' house. I don't remember if I brought them there, he brought them there, don't recall how they got there, but there was a gift from him to me to open at my parents' house. So he asked me to call him when I opened the gift. So I did. I called him, opened the gift, and I opened it, and I'm like, what is this? So, y'all, it was a ring. And I'm like, so then he's on the phone, and he asked me to marry him. And looking back now, I'm like, shoot, sign number one. Why you going to ask me on the phone when you live 15 minutes away from me? So apparently I said yes. And then I take the ring and I put it on my finger. Y'all, it just said, whoop, it fell off. Sign number two for me. Should have seen it there too. But I'm going to blame it on being young and just didn't know no better. Or thought I was in love. So this is December. We start immediately planning the wedding, which happened in August 1 of 1992. So, I had taken my sister's wedding dress, redid that dress to save some money. I had my bridesmaids. I think I had 9 or 10 bridesmaids, 3 or 4 hostesses, angels. Y'all, it was this big shindig. And it was July, I want to say 3 weeks prior to the wedding. It was 4th of July. We were at my aunt's house. And the family was asking me, what colors they need to wear, if they needed anything from me, what they need to do. And I'm giving them the lowdown or the rundown of how everything is going to go, except for the big surprise, which was me coming out on smoke. So the theme of the wedding was heaven. And I was going to walk down the aisle to When You've Been Blessed by Patti LaBelle, Feels Like Heaven. And I had all of these angels and stuff that were going to light the candles before I walked down the aisle. And it's going to be this big production. So this particular 4th of July, my mom was just on me and cracking jokes all day. She had something to say about everything I said about the wedding or pertaining to the wedding. And it was this last comment when I was telling the family the theme of the wedding was going to be heaven. And out of the blue, my mama over in the corner, yeah, we're going to see how long it feel like heaven. And then my cousin sitting next to me, and she's cracking up laughing, talking about, ooh, girl, your mama is on a roll today. And if y'all know my parents, my dad is the jokester. My mom is the spiritual one, the praying woman. She really didn't joke too much or whatever. But this particular day, every time I had something to say about this wedding, she had a comeback for me. And it was just like a dig, like, So my parents were hoping and believing that I wasn't going to go through with this wedding. They like, she not going to do it. Eventually, she going to say, nah, don't do it. And, my dad would come along and say, hey, your uncle and them say they already got the tickets. So don't come back changing dates or anything because they already ready. So I'd be like, oh, okay. So let's see. So prior to the wedding, let's talk about marriage counseling. So my pastor at that time was going to marry us as well as his father. So when it came to counseling, his dad was handling the counseling. And my pastor had asked, hey, do I need to counsel y'all or whatever? And we had let him know that his dad was doing the counseling for us or whatever. And he was like, okay, that's fine. And Y'all, that counseling session, I think, may have been 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes at their dining room table, and that was it. So, as it gets closer to the wedding, my pastor had asked me again, "Hey, Sister Sonya, y'all have done counseling, right?" I was like, "Yes, sir, we have." He's like, "Okay." And I remember getting ready to leave, and he calls me back, and I'm like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Sonya, you know, you're supposed to be marrying a pastor." I was like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Yeah, I think you're supposed to be marrying a pastor." And I'm like, "Well, his dad is a pastor, so maybe he gonna take over from his dad once his dad retires or whatever, or something like that." He was just like, "I don't know if that's what I'm hearing." So, I was just like, "Well, okay, well, we'll see." And I didn't think anything of it again. So that was another sign. But then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, maybe possibly he will be a pastor one day. I don't know. I don't know what the Lord has in store for him. So there were some other signs along the way. The dressmaker, she was messing up on the dresses. They were whack, messing up measurements. My baker for my cake was my Aunt Shirley. And she made some of the best cakes, y'all, and did just great work on cakes. And my cake was beautiful. However, in our consultation with her, we sat down with her, and she had met him for the first time. And we talking about the cake and what we want or whatever. And I guess maybe he just wasn't into it. And she's sitting there and she looking at him, and she's just like, "Where you get him from?" And at that point, she was just disgusted, like, ugh. So, on the other hand, I had all of these people saying what they thought wasn't going to be right or whatever. And then on the other hand over here, I had this mother-in-law to be that, how can I explain it? I guess, y'all, the best way to explain this is almost, when I look back at it, it's almost like she was the one that was dating me instead of him. She made sure I had everything I needed. If she heard me say I wanted something, or maybe heard he and I talking, I think she was in the background making everything happen to make it seem like, okay, he's this perfect guy, the perfect guy for me, when really she thought I was the perfect woman for her son. And she had seen such a change in him since we had started talking. But really, y'all, it was all a facade. He was playing the game for real. But we get to the wedding day, and y'all, it was a beautiful day. A beautiful day on this wedding day. And there was so much going on. I was happy. I was excited. I was nervous. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, like, do I really want to do this? So we had decided to have all the bridesmaids come to the church 2 hours or 3 hours prior to the wedding ceremony and get dressed. So at that time, all the bridesmaids came with their hair done, and then somebody was working on makeup. And as we were getting ready for the wedding, there's some details, y'all, that are so juicy, so funny, and just things that happened that were signs that I still ignored. But that's a long story. And we're going to have to continue this segment of Momentary Marriage until next week. But hopefully y'all have enjoyed what I've shared thus far. And you'll be back with me next week when I come back and talk about the wedding day and the scenarios that happen after the wedding day. So, everyone have a wonderful day. I love y'all. Smooches. And also, I want to leave you all with Mark 9:23. All things are possible to the ones that believe. Do you believe? What do you believe in God for? So, in this COVID quarantine, I hope everyone's taking some time to read, to refocus, and reinvent. Me, myself, I'm recreating and reinventing myself in this season, in this time. And hoping that I become that which I recreate. So, y'all, until next week, I love y'all, and I'll see y'all then. Y'all have a blessed day. Toodles!